Okay, here we go. Looks like I got the fan on, so I better kill that. That's not good. Okay, this is my first video. Well, it's actually my third, but my first introduction to my channel, which I want to build, called Moral Literacy. I've got it all one word there. Let's look into that. Morality, moral education, and iteration. That's where the word came from for this channel. I'm starting out with an introduction to this YouTube channel. I felt it was important to give a little background and to state my goals here. Obviously not because I have all these subscribers that said, hey, you've got to do an introduction, but I don't actually have any subscribers. More of a tool for me to act as a scaffold to hang all this stuff, all the content of this channel. So that's where the goals come in. So this is mind mapping 3D software, and I'll be using that. Let's see here. Okay, back to about me, Zoom. All right. I am a professional handyman. At this point, 30 years into it, I find myself with enough experience to mostly work automatically, going through repairs and new construction with my subconscious, leaving my conscious mind free to listen, to wander, and to wonder. Also, it's possible I'm getting too old and my attention span is now limited. Moving right along, earphones are allowed. Owning my own business allows me to set my own rules. It also means not making any money, unfortunately. But one of the perks is that I have plenty of time and permission to listen to audiobooks, lectures, and music while I work. I also have plenty of time to think about the things I see from day to day and to philosophize about our future. Universal basic income. There we go. I've heard a lot about this recently. It sounds like an excuse to redistribute income, if you ask me, which nobody has, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. I can't help thinking about what I have already got coming in right now. We've all inherited so much just by being in this world at this day and age. To give back a little bit of what I've inherited from the mental giants of the past and of our present, I decided to form this channel. My approach is to take better notes as I listen to the world of YouTube creators and to comment on what I love, to redirect what I see as slightly off, and to call a full stop to what I see as errors, hopefully pointing out a better path towards a more certain, brighter future. The universal basic income we get from YouTube alone in the currency of knowledge is truly astounding. We have to be entitled fools not to be brimming with gratitude. Religious roots. I was raised Mormon. Along with that childhood education came the gift, or curse, of certainty. About a surprising number of things I didn't have to wonder. That's because I was taught the way of the world. To question the way was accepted and even encouraged, but to disagree was evil. So, of course, within a short period of religious education, I straight up knew. One clever tactic of guiding impressionable youth down the religious path was to teach that a testimony is gained in the bearing of it. They never actually said, fake it till you make it, but we got the idea without so many words. It didn't take me long before I could testify with the best of them. Certainty. There was a lot of it. Mark Twain said it best. It ain't what let's see, what did he say? It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. That's my best Mark Twain voice. I love that guy. Canned history. It may be that most of the history we are taught is canned. Makes sense, so it doesn't spoil. But the religious history I got was definitely hard to swallow. That's probably why they started feeding it to me along with mother's milk. No, I'm not bitter. Why do you ask? The carefully packed stories I got were the most effective way to suppress and redirect a child's natural curiosity and wonder. And here's how that happens. Best that I can tell. Wonder gets focused. Wonder and curiosity gets focused. The details of the story were drilled into me. All the wonder I naturally was capable of was focused on this story. Mormon specialist. Hymns and children's songs stuck in head? Check. Scriptures memorized? Check. Appropriate fear of death, hell, and Satan installed? Check. Hope for salvation and God's approval? Check. I was a Mormon specialist. Wonder was suppressed. Here's how. The natural curiosity and wonder of children can be overwhelming to deal with. Religion comes with a built-in mechanism designed to take advantage of this natural condition. Uncontrolled wonder, which is likely to lead to uncomfortable and hard-to-answer questions, can be managed by redirection. The world must be explained to fit the story or the doctrine. If a subject was outside the bounds of the story, it was a distraction. Life was to be seen through the lens of the story. This was my bubble. It was a large bubble, seeming to encompass the whole world. This effect was a result of the bubble's location, perfectly fit around my own mind. Heathen tech enthusiasm. This is kind of an anecdote. Just a few months ago, I was telling a relative about some technology that had captured my imagination. Starship construction, self-driving cars, and brain-machine interface, thanks to Elon Musk. She replied, "Oh, that's right, you don't believe in the church anymore, so you would be excited about that stuff." I knew exactly what she meant. When God is all-knowing and has your back, that makes him your best path to technology. Seeking for it outside of that relationship is disrespectful at least, and dangerously rebellious at worst. My brand of Mormonism suppressed wonder about our world by overlaying a vision of a better one, with prayer as the path to scientific revelation. Disagreement is met with condescension, patience, or pity. Condescension, an attitude of patronizing superiority. That's powerful stuff. After meeting this level of resistance from peers, parents, and priesthood, disagreement energy was quickly redirected to a frantic quest for consensus. Religious experiences were unlocked at this point. My Mormon goggles. Whoa, get back here. All of these subjects and more were taught and explained to me through the membrane of my personal Mormon bubble. Science, politics, charity, work ethic, goals, sex, marriage, family, parenting, education, nationalism, military and military service, traditions, etc. In this way, a child is shown a world that is both vast and terribly tiny. Proper curiosity. Questions were always encouraged as long as the result was, pray until you agree. Epistemology, we are doing it. No, wait, that's genealogy. Testimony quest. But first, a definition. Epistemology, the theory of knowledge. It is the science of how you know what you know. Mormon culture teaches only one form of epistemology, and they do that by demonstration, not by teaching the science of epistemology. The approved epistemological approach for religion seems universal and absolute. Testimony. Certainty was only one religious experience away. Epistemological leaning. Lean on me. Parents, peers, and priesthood was my educational system as a young child, and the easiest thing when looking for answers was to ask and to believe the locals. That's what I did. All sound effects will be done by me. Monthly testimony meetings. Oh boy. Once a month, a normal Sunday was transformed. We got fast and testimony meetings. I imagine this is what an instant of ultimate pain would feel like if that instantaneous moment were stretched out and thus diluted by 1 hour and 20 minutes. Tears, stories, miracles, and certainty galore. The perfect combo of boredom, stress, hope, and worry. And boredom. Did I mention boredom? P.S. Make sure you don't eat or drink anything until the meeting is over at 4 p.m. Because now that you're over the age of 8, you need to fast for most of this day of rest. P.P.S. Your parents haven't seen their church buddies for a whole week, so don't expect anyone to run home and start dinner. Breakfast? No, they're going to need a good 45 minutes to catch up. Gather up all your siblings and go wait in the car. Or walk. We walked. No, really, I'm not bitter. Reality check. Much of my childhood is gone from my memory. I didn't take very good care of those brain cells. But I do remember, as a youngster, doing something odd. I would check every once in a while, usually at sacrament meetings, whether it all made sense, whether I still believed. I remember each time thinking, yep, it all checks out. Get your own certainty, leave mine alone. Along with the answers to my questions, I would often hear a testimony as well, citing the source and status of the knowledge. This also bolstered the status of my momentary mentor as one who, quote, had a testimony, unquote. They weren't handing me mere speculation. This was knowledge. By association, I wanted one as well, and soon learned the process of how to get a testimony. No testimony, go on a mission. Missionary service was expected of any penis wielder. It was optional for women. There was no better pressure cooker, more perfectly designed to boil off sinful thoughts, speaking of penises, and to encourage the existential crisis required to bring on a religious experience. Mr. Mack and the MTC. Mr. Mack is the premier outfitter of Utah Mormon missionaries, at least for the gender of missionaries not in the market for dresses, but for suits. They have suits that survive bicycle crashes without a scratch. I tested that out personally. Suits and dress shirts acquired, and I was off for my month of specialized indoctrination at the MTC, which is the Missionary Training Center. The only problem was I still had no testimony. Fear of hypocrisy to the rescue. 1 week into my missionary sales training, my stress levels finally peaked, and I had my religious epiphany. Now I knew, and certainty was mine. For those of you who are extra curious, Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23, you better look up the King James Version, at least that's what's stuck in my brain. Talks about the fruits of the Spirit being love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, meekness. Against such there is no law, something or other. But that, to me, at that time, meant that the Holy Ghost had been trying to communicate with me by giving me warm, fuzzy feelings throughout all of my church experiences, and that translated into my testimony. So I was ready to go. Faith into knowledge. I was transformed at that moment from a believing child into a knowledgeable adult. What did I know? How to answer any question, prayers, and scripture study. The nature of the universe. The meaning of life. All of these things were mine. How I got here. My purpose on earth. My team. I knew who my team was. Where I was going. That was laid out as well. I was starting a 20-year journey of stress, business adventure, first kisses, too many kisses, repentance, dating, depression, blind dating, marriage, jobs, quitting jobs, business again, parenthood, real estate, poverty, and more depression. Not mine this time, but my wife's. My poor wife. No, I didn't know that's where I was going, but I was anxious to travel my twisty path, for I knew it would lead me through to heaven, until I stumbled across the weeds of heathenism. Let's see what that means. Heathen. Derogatory term for a person who does not belong to a widely held religion, especially Christian, Jew, or Muslim. Audible. Construction couldn't hold my full attention forever. Audiobooks were my salvation. The brand new internet and app technology brought me eventually to the Audible app, and my mind was free to roam while I worked. Kyle, contradictions don't exist. Doing service work for the Bishop's Storehouse with my church friends and my buddy Kyle, he came out with this statement. We'd been having an enjoyable conversation as we lowered massive baskets of freshly canned goods into a pressure cooker. He said, contradictions don't exist. I said, I think I know what a contradiction is, but not well enough to know what you mean. Check out this book by Ayn Rand. Who? Ayn Rand. She's an author from Russia who wrote this book in the 1950s. Kyle is very, very well read, and I thought he was the coolest. So I looked on my Audible app. I found the book, Atlas Shrugged, 1 credit, 52 hours and a few minutes. And I had just run out of new audiobooks, so this was perfect. Atlas Shrugged cracked my brain bubble. Kyle was sophisticated enough that he could read a book of political philosophy written by an atheist and come out with cool quotes and an even more unshakable faith. I was struck a lot harder, and it sent me on a path into politics, out of politics, into anarchy, and eventually out of religion. Contradictions don't exist. Contradiction, a combination of statements, ideas, or features of a situation that are opposed to one another. Contradictions knocked me out of politics. Contradictions in my religious connection to patriotism knocked me out of Mormonism. The conditional love and acceptance of my parents' extended family and community, founded on the substance of Mormonism, knocked me out of my family and tribe. Religion, government, and family were barred to me. The three pillars that got me to the certain, solid, unquestionable mental state I had enjoyed for decades were gone. Thanks a lot, Miss Rand. This is a topic for later, you can tell by that bubble. The meat grinder. We're all burdened with PTSD. I imagine a tripod stand holding a meat grinder in place. It's a metaphorical one, but only mildly less destructive. The three legs supporting it are family, religion, politics. Each of these institutions are ostensibly there to help us, and they could. Family could be truly loving, and some may be. Religion could be rational. I don't know that there are any. Government could be voluntary. I'm sure there aren't any of those. Instead, families are controlling, religions are irrational, and governments are coercive. This is a general statement, but in some cases, absolutely true. So if we get to it, that will be a topic for another discussion. Longing for what was lost. It took a few years, but half a decade after Miss Rand's books introduced me to the world of philosophy, I found myself adrift, parted from my religious roots. Along with my lost patriotism, I lost my sense of national identity. With that went a hidden sense of superiority, and with those two gone, I lost a good measure of confidence and safety. All of my religious knowledge was transformed into mere data, speculation, and fantasy. My family and community thought I was worse than lost. My mother went so far as to write me a letter wishing she had a law to throw me in jail for the threat of eternal damnation I was bringing upon her grandchildren. True story. My quest to regain certainty. Even though my perception had been warped by my religion, the awesomeness of the world was still apparent. Maybe God didn't build the thing in 7 days, and maybe evolution and emergence had a much more vital role in the formation of the abundant life I saw all around me. But either way, the world and the universe was still a magical place. I definitely felt more alone and uncertain than ever, and I missed that sense of knowing. But now I had epistemology, a whole branch of science that I'd never heard of in 4 decades of community living. Maybe religious certainty was gone, but maybe I had traded up. Lack of certainty was one of the most frightening things about questioning my faith. On the outside, once reality settled in and I had given myself permission to question, I wasn't certain about almost anything. But it wasn't all bad. My venture into the unknown had left me a surprise. I am now a lot better at coping with uncertainty. Eternal hope versus joy of the finite. I love this excerpt from Atlas Shrugged. The character is Dagny, and she is discovering a few of the joys available in the world of philosophy. The sun had trickled down the peaks and drawn a circle of shining granite and glittering snow to enclose the valley when they stepped out of the house. She felt suddenly as if nothing existed beyond that circle, and she wondered at the joyous, proud comfort to be found in a sense of the finite, in the knowledge that the field of one's concern lay within the realm of one's sight. A new power had begun to grow in me. It was the strength of an awakened mind and of a world without contradiction. I had it all to learn again, but reality was now my standard, and it was consistent and solid. I found myself strangely well equipped to live in this lone and dreary wilderness, and I began to enjoy a feeling of fantasy lost, but paradise here for the making. Time for a new plan. Mormonism held certainty, comfort, and safety. The story of the world and the heavens was complete, and I had the answers. But without the ability to articulate it, somehow I knew, even while still a believer, that the story was incredibly boring. The colors were faded, and the plot was stolen. How else could I explain my crazy hunger and satisfaction in learning about epistemology, philosophy, economics, freedom, and morality? I felt in so many ways that I had been a prisoner, and now I was headed for my real homeland. That brings me to the creation of this channel. Okay with uncertainty. Well, pretty much. It's an annoying neighbor, uncertainty, but it's never going to entirely go away. I'm hoping to send it on vacation from time to time, though, and I think this channel will help. If you care to listen and even participate, I'd love all the help I can get in finding contentment, excitement, wonder, and joy in a universe of uncertainty. 3 goals. Okay, here we get down to it. Expand the field of moral literacy. The first is to do what I can to expand the field of moral literacy. Having left my religion of origin, I now have the hard job that every other heathen has. If not God's command, then what rules should I follow? Do I need rules? In short, what should I do? That last one is the moral question. I want to explore what it means, where it comes from, how we know whether we got it right or not, and what might just be the best path forward. That's what I mean when I refer to moral literacy. Ending slavery. My next goal isn't just educational, it's a huge project, and while I hope to see some major progress in my lifetime, it might take decades or it might completely fail. What I want to do is end slavery. Hearing this, you might be thinking that that job was done a couple of centuries ago. So one of the first elements of moral literacy I want to explore is the real nature and evolution of slavery, its effects, and why I argue that, contrary to popular opinion, it has yet to be abolished. Remake our institutions. Hey, get back here. Come on. Lastly but not leastly, that's not a word. Once those 2 steps are well underway, the practical next step begins. I want to reform, rebuild, and outcompete our current institutions. Most, if not all of them, are built on a moral foundation of slavery. I'm of the opinion that this is why so many of us have a strong suspicion that there is something very wrong with the world. Institutions are, to us, like water is to a fish. We're too close to see it, or to see its nature. It's just the environment. Religion, taxes, school, work, news, sports, utilities, cops, business, money, hospitals, daycares. Human institutions take all kinds of forms. We're so used to them and to using them that it's quite difficult to question, let alone to change them. But if we want a better world, that's exactly what we need. Far better institutions. And that brings us to my conclusion. So, easy peasy. I want to work towards a world where our institutions are immune to the virus of human enslavement. I want to expand moral literacy. I want to rebuild our institutions. No big deal. But that's what this channel is meant to begin. Here we go. Little side note, above note, whatever. This app is Mind Mapping 3D. I had been looking for a 3D flowchart for months when I found this. It wasn't the first I found, but I like it. The third dimension adds another layer to the connections you can make between nodes and allows for better visual processing in some ways. There may be better software out there. I'm open for suggestions. Till then, I'll be using this thing. So if it's annoying to watch or makes you nauseous, I apologize. Maybe you can just listen and skip the visuals. See you next time. Uh-oh. How do I stop this thing? There's gotta be a way. Shoo-ba-doo.